Why, hello again, and welcome back to Neon Pizzas, your local pizzeria for all of your wild and nonsensical FNAF theories. Before we start the video, I would like to state that I have not finished Return to the Pit yet. I do have the book in my possession, and I have started reading it, but I have not finished it yet, so my opinion on this theory specifically might actually change after I finish it, because of the interactive novels might be canon thing. I don't know, I'm still really confused. I also went and bought a $20 mic from Best Buy, so can you guys let me know if the audio quality is better or worse? Honestly, I cannot tell myself. And finally, if you came to this video because you saw and enjoyed my last one, consider subscribing. You'll have some things to look forward to, such as FNAF 2 movie trailer reaction and breakdown. I'm so excited. Hopefully a playthrough of Secrets the Mimic, and many more theory and analysis videos. So I hope you guys will choose to stick around for a while. Did I say guys? I think I said guys. Well, with that said, let's jump into the video. So, I'm still kind of new to the fandom. Did you guys know that Into the Pit was released in 2019? Only a few months after Help Wanted? Okay, funny story. I've only been in this fandom for like a year and a half. Sue me, I know. But this feels so wrong. Since then, we have had a game and another book come out for this one story. So, needless to say, I think that Scott really wants us to know about it. While I feel like I can't say much that every other theorist hasn't already said about this story and how it may or may not connect to the main timeline, I wanted to make a video anyway to talk about my interpretation of the story, which just so happened to come about when I first played the game. Again, I was pretty late to the fandom, so the game was in fact my first impression. While I can never be sure that this was or was not what was intended when it was first written, I thought I'd share it anyway. When I first played Into the Pit, it had not crossed my mind whether it might have been canon to the game timeline or not. I mean, time travel via ball pit seemed a little insane. Even for this franchise. Especially when you think about the Monster Bunny, who seems to be a stand-in for William Afton. Not to mention that if this story is canon, then that means that there's a chance that all of the Fazbear Frights stories are canon. This includes Sea Bonnies and canonical MatPat Springtrap Impreg. Please, don't let this be canon! So, I decided instead of looking at this story as if it's canon, like many other theorists are trying to do, why not try and figure out what it means if it's not? When we look back at how we used to analyze Fazbear Frights books, we always tried to see how they indirectly represented moments and characters from the games. So, that's what I set out to do with Into the Pit. Not look at it like it's canon, but try to find out what it represents or is most likely referencing. So, let's start with a very quick summary of the story to those who need it. But with 3 separate adaptations out, I hardly think most of you will need one. So, there's this kid named Oswald who goes into the pit. Okay, all jokes aside, he hides in an abandoned ball pit in an old Freddy's location that is no longer a Freddy's location and time travels to the 80s when it was a Freddy's location. His dad gets kidnapped by this monster rabbit thing and he seemingly replaces him until we are able to save him and kill the rabbit. Weird story, right? Well, this is FNAF, so what else is new? And that's just the baseline of the story, folks. I would definitely recommend reading the story yourself or playing the game if you want the details of it. Mainly because I don't want this video to go on for 3 hours. Honestly though, please go play the game. It was so fun to... Ah! Oh, jeez, roommate, I didn't know you could get in here.
What do you mean? You put me here.
I mean, I guess that's true. Wait, so what do you want?
If you don't think it's canon, then who the heck do you think Oswald represents?
Oh, yeah. Well, in this story, I think Oswald represents Michael Afton.
Huh?
Hear me out for a second. I know what you're probably thinking. If he's gonna represent anyone, then it's gotta be the crying child, right? I mean, come on. He has brown hair and a striped shirt. so sorry, MatPat. Please don't sue me. I love you. There are a few more reasons that he could represent Dave, though. I mean, a scared young child who has a similar appearance. On the surface, it makes sense, right? But we're not looking on the surface. I'm going deeper. Just think about the main plot point of the game and book. You are constantly hiding and fighting this monster that is pretending to be your father. And you are the only one who sees him as the monster. Even your mom still sees him as your dad. So, a child whose dad becomes a monster. A child who witnesses their dad become a monster, and no one else can see it but him. Personally, to me, that sounds an awful lot like a child who witnesses their dad doing something terrible and now can only see them for the monster that they've become. But unlike the game, he can never really get his dad back. We know that Mike knew his father was a murderer. At least later on, as he literally set him on fire like 5 times. You wouldn't do that to your dad, unless he was probably a murderer. We even have insight that he was helping him with unknown tasks in Sister Location. I rarely ever see anyone ask when he found out about this, though. We have a little bit of evidence that he knew about how Elizabeth died with the line, "Isn't that why you came here? To be with her again, blah 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 blah." So he probably knew about this before Sister Location. What if Mike witnessed the MCI? Or even part of it? What if Mike saw firsthand what his father did to these kids, just like Oswald saw the rabbit do in the book? If you saw your dad in a rabbit suit murdering a bunch of kids, I highly doubt you would ever be able to look at him the same way ever again. Mike couldn't either. For a while, he fought it, just like Oswald. He tried to tell people that his father was a monster, but no one believed him. They only saw him as the man he had always been. So eventually, he accepted it, fell into the manipulation, and finally bent to his father's will. But that's just a theory. I know you said it, don't be ashamed.
That's cool and all, but do you have any actual evidence to support your claims?
Oh my gosh, you're starting to sound like my college professors. But surprisingly I do. We see throughout the game that Oswald likes to draw. He even draws the animatronics even though he doesn't know what they are yet. We also know that Mike likes to draw from the security logbook. While you might think that this is a small piece of evidence that has very little bearing on this idea, you're probably right. But we actually used evidence like this before for a separate Fazbear Fright story. Step closer. If you remember this video by our dear old retired friend, the video that partially confirms the connection of Mike and the Foxy Bro, it hinges on the strange parallels from book to game. But it is further confirmed by the security logbook, showing that both main characters, Mike and Pete, the main character of Step Closer, excessively chew gum. I would also definitely recommend going to watch that video if you haven't. So if this detail was able to connect these two, why shouldn't a separate small detail from the security logbook be able to connect Mike and Oswald? While that's not nearly enough evidence for me to be confident in this theory, I hope you guys can give it at least a little bit of thought and consideration. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think that Into the Pit is canon? If not, do you have your own interpretations? Let me know, and I will see you next time. Love ya. Bye. Well, with that, oh my god.
Now, before we get started, that's not what I'm supposed to say.
Was not what was intended when it was first written. I thought I'd share it oh my gosh. My papers fell.